Camo hopes to open up more co-working spaces in the future in communities where they're needed the most. Coach G Studio has only been open for less than a year, but at 35 years old, he plans to open up more studios in the DMV area, possibly even taking it back to his hometown of Baltimore. Gun violence is also a grave threat to public safety, killing far more Americans than terrorist plots per year. While many participants at the March for Our Lives event here in Washington, D.C. believe that these events are, in fact, acts of terrorism, our mainstream media has lacked to associate gun violence with acts of terrorism. For Howard University's News Vision, I'm Branson Falker. CampSpace is Hyattsville's newest co-working space located in its Arts District. Members of the Hyattsville community now have the opportunity to work in a welcoming and collaborative environment.
I created CampSpace, which is a private event and co-work facility, because there were no options like that in Prince George's County at the time. I'm a Prince George's County native, and I really grew frustrated with having to go into the city if I wanted to co-work.
CampSpace targets young business professionals and offers a chic environment similar to that of the popular co-working space chain of WeWork buildings located around the world.
The thing about CampSpace is that it really doesn't target a specific demographic like your typical Brooklyn hipster that you find at the WeWork building. It's a really welcoming and friendly environment where members of the Hyattsville community aren't really required to travel too far. It's definitely the first of its kind in Hyattsville, and it's super convenient.
Camo used to commute into Washington, D.C. as a member of WeWork buildings, but decided to take matters into her own hands.
I don't live in DC and I commute here in order to work, so I think CampSpace is a great solution to fix the issue of not having spaces like this outside of DC.
You know, when I started on this journey, it was about creating spaces where I could work close to where I live, right? So everybody doesn't want to go into DC. I'm one of those people. There's a huge community of suburban millennials like myself who want to be able to work and connect and grow with people like themselves.
Camo hopes to open up more co-working spaces in the future in communities where they're needed the most. For Howard University's News Vision, I'm Branson Falker.
I think my passion for fitness really started at a young age. I've always played sports. I've always been really interested in science. But at the age of 18, my mom passed away really suddenly from heart failure. And that's where like my whole shift in thinking about fitness really kind of changed.
As the owner of Sweat DC Fitness Studio, 35-year-old Coach G says that he doesn't fear competition with other boutique studios.
In the DC market, we're probably one of the cheapest places, but we actually provide some of the most services on the scales of your $100 million brands like a SoulCycle and Flywheel.
With the help from other members on his team, Coach G makes sure his business is booming and always has the support from those working with him.
He wants to make everyone healthy and self-aware and sexy.
And with obesity as a worldwide epidemic, Coach G exposes his clients to other things outside of a great workout to ensure a healthy body.
One thing that Coach G offers that a lot of gyms don't offer, I don't like calling this a gym, this is like a fitness boutique, is nutritional counseling.
No matter how much money you make or how much success you have in your career or life or kids or whatever, you only get one body and your health is the most important thing.
Coach G Studio has only been open for less than a year, but at 35 years old, he plans to open up more studios in the DMV area, possibly even taking it back to his hometown of Baltimore. For Howard University's News Service, I'm Branson Falker. Racial profiling amongst mass shooters has been discussed in the mainstream media, the linking of people of color to terrorism while Caucasians are linked to mental illness. Protesters at the March for Our Lives had lots to say on the issue of race and terrorism.
Personally, I think that it's all like a form of terrorism because a group of people are getting affected, and I feel like depending on who the person is, you're either a terrorist or the person just has a mental illness, and I think that it all is in one group, and that just because of the color of their skin, it shouldn't be
The media failed to call the 2017 Las Vegas shooter, who was white, a terrorist, while the media labeled the Boston bomber brothers as terrorists who were minorities.
I think the other side of terrorism that's really frustrating is calling like the difference between like colored shooters and white shooters. So like for white shooters, that's not they don't even call it domestic terrorism. They call it a tragedy, a shooting.
Protesters at the march held up signs and posters stating just because an individual is an American citizen, it does not outrule that person as being labeled a terrorist.
I think anybody can be a terrorist, and I think they do lack the association between the nationalities and whatnot. Anybody can be a terrorist. Look at Timothy McVeigh.
Gun violence is also a grave threat to public safety, killing far more Americans than terrorist plots per year. While many participants at the March for Our Lives event here in Washington, D.C. believe that these events are, in fact, acts of terrorism, our mainstream media has lacked to associate gun violence with acts of terrorism. For Howard University's News Vision, I'm Branson Falker.